As the medical director for Morningstar Development, Dr. Dilip Joseph has been to Afghanistan numerous times. While there, he's trained healthcare workers, seen patients, and was kidnapped by the Taliban.
In December 2012, Dr. Dilip Joseph was working at a medical clinic in rural Afghanistan when he was captured by the Taliban. For several days, Dr. Joseph's captors forced him to hike through the rugged mountains to an unknown destination. Then, in the early morning hours of day 5, U.S. Navy SEALs burst into the room where he and the Taliban were sleeping. In his book, Kidnapped by the Taliban, Dr. Joseph gives an account of his terrifying experience, the heroic rescue, and why he continues to help the people of Afghanistan.
Dr. Dilip Joseph is here with us now, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you,
Talk a little bit, if you will, about the work that you've done in Afghanistan. This was one experience that we want to get to, but you've been working there for some time.
Yeah, it's been about 5.5 years, Jerry, now then, and as a medical director for Morningstar Development, I travel in and out and conduct medical training seminars for our healthcare workers in the country.
Did you ever feel any anxiety about the potential for capture before?
You know, there's always that thought in the back of your mind, but as an organization, we have a very solid security protocol, you know, both from a governmental point of view and also from the local community point of view. But this specific occasion didn't work out well for us.
So what happened the day that you were captured?
We were coming back from our most rural clinic, not too far from the Pakistan border, and on our way down, we had some insurgents waiting for us on the roadside.
Did you know immediately you were in trouble?
Yeah, the moment I saw the first gunman pop out of a bush, I knew that was trouble.
You had to walk an unbelievable distance that first night. I mean, you didn't have food at the time, you didn't have water at the time, and you walked for, what, 9 hours or something?
Yeah, very close. We were put back to the to our same van and taken to a very remote area. From that area, we walked for a good 8+ hours till we came to this abandoned shack the next morning.
What was going through your mind at that time? Did you think you would die? Did you assume you would live? What were you thinking?
Yeah, in the early parts of that hiking, especially, there was not a lot of conversation going on, and all kinds of thoughts went through my mind. You know, I had to settle in my mind that if God somehow got me to Afghanistan and gave me these opportunities, God is somehow in control of this situation as well. And as soon as I was able to settle that within an hour or so, I was able to walk the rest of the time just singing hymns and praising God. And
yeah, you had an interesting group of men that had initially captured you, and then you had many that came into the group over a window of time. Some very intimidating, and some quite friendly.
Yeah, I had a very interesting mix of people, and some of them very much surprised me. You know, when we think about the Taliban or any insurgency group, I think we can easily forget that some of them, if not all of them, are still searching for that truth. And it is their search and their struggle for that truth is what is getting them into certain situations where they think they're doing right. Yeah,
you had an interesting conversation with one of them who actually was one of the leaders and quite friendly about family, just wanted to know about your life here in America.
That's right. He was a very young man. I didn't realize he was as young as 19 years old. During the conversation, a lot of the details came out, and he just wanted to know a lot about my upbringing, why I do the type of work that I do. And I asked a lot of questions about my immediate family, extended family. And from that conversation, he started to extract pieces of his own life, and he would reflect that back to me.
Yeah. So you had a little glimpse of the significance of family in the Afghani life.
That's right. I mean, as a culture, they're well known for their hospitality. And when they say family, they are most of the time talking about their entire sub-tribal group. So they're not talking about immediate family. You know, we're more in our culture known to think about family as the immediate unit, but they talk about family as in their entire tribe.
Broader scale. At one point, there were 3 of you who were captured, you and 2 Afghanis that you worked with over there. At one point, they take the other 2 away and you're left alone. I mean, that was a moment of brokenness for you.
That was a very low point because my local medical director was also my translator. And because of that, I knew exactly what was going on. And of course, after many years of working closely with him and our driver, we had become very close. There's a great proverb in the Afghan language that says, the first time we meet, we are friends, but the second time we're brothers. And we had become very close, and I hugged both of them goodbye, knowing very well that I might never have the chance to see them again. And just that brokenness, I think, touched few that was left in my group, and there were about 5 of them left with me at that point.
There had to be a fear at that point when you're alone with them, not knowing also whether you're ever going to get out of there or not. You have a wife and children. What was that like for you?
Yeah, throughout those 4 days, I really had to say, I have to give this up to God, because the hope of getting out of a situation like that is very, very minimal.
Unbelievable. Talk a little bit about how you got out of it, because that's pretty unbelievable too.
Yeah, the rescue effort was something that was the very last thing on my mind. You know, especially as a civilian, it's not something that the American or the NATO military forces have to get involved with. But the early mornings of the 5th day, that's when some NATO forces came in. And the only thing that tipped me off is the fact that this 19-year-old shot, you know, had the first gunshot that actually killed the first Navy SEAL that walked into the room. And then the fact that there were so many commands being made in English, I had to think real quickly, wait a second, I'm the only guy who would understand English. This must be for me. This must be a rescue effort. But the whole thing took less than maybe a couple of minutes.
It was, I know you were thrilled to be rescued, thrilled to know God had brought you out of it and that you were going home to your family, but you had developed a little bit of a relationship with some of these men, and they were all shot in the process of your rescue. There was a certain sadness to that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think even while you work in a place like that, it is very easy to remove yourself from the fact that they're also seeking. They need the compassion and the grace that we have experienced in our lives. And the moment you remove yourself from that, you're no different from anyone else. So I was very much surprised and touched by this 19-year-old and a few others during my time, and I kept coming back to the matters of grace and compassion. And yes, that was one of those moments.
I know that that the Navy SEALs did an amazing job in rescuing you, and we just want to say kudos to them. This is a fascinating book, Kidnapped by the Taliban. This man has a story few have, and this book is available wherever books are sold. Dr. Joseph, thank you so much for your work and for being with us. Great to have you here.